Some say they felt nothing watching this scene. But to me, it might just be the most quietly heartbreaking love story in the world. So much so that when filming wrapped, even Meryl Streep admitted she felt like she should have opened that car door.
You don't really know. At the end of the shoot, you think, open the door, you know?
This film once sparked deep conversations about marriage and feminism. In fact, it's said that after its release, divorce rates in many countries saw a noticeable spike. That rising tide of separations led people to question, why is marriage often so dull? If this is its true nature, why do we still hold it in such awe or yearn for it so deeply? And so, by popular demand, today I'll be covering the film adaptation of the novel The Bridges of Madison County by American author Robert James Waller. It was a scorching summer day. Francesca, now a longtime housewife, had seen her youthful fairy tales wither under the grind of daily chores and domestic routine. She couldn't stand the loud bang of the door as her son barged in. Before she could even complain, her husband followed with a slam of his own. Her brows furrowed deeply. Their half-hearted apologies had barely finished when the daughter walked in, casually turning the radio to her favorite station, completely oblivious to the sadness in her mother's eyes. They had long grown used to living this way. The family then sat down to eat. Francesca rested her chin in her hands, her eyes full of longing, hoping for someone to share something with her. Anything. Joy, sorrow, a story. But it was clear, no one noticed her quiet ache. This was Francesca's life, a housewife trapped in a tight, invisible space. Only she knew how to open that stubborn drawer. Only she could keep the kids' clothes from falling into chaos. Later, her husband took the kids to a cattle show in town. Watching them leave, Francesca felt the breeze on her face. She would have a rare few days of peace, but the summer heat was unbearable. She sipped iced tea and beat the dust from the carpet on the porch post. Just then, a small pickup truck rolled up the dirt road. A middle-aged man stepped down and looked at the slightly shy country woman before him. He smiled, calm, deep, and captivating. Francesca stared at him carefully, and when she learned the man was a photographer looking for a covered bridge, she seemed to know exactly where it was. Though she blurted out the name, she couldn't quite describe the location. Seeing the man meant no harm, and feeling painfully bored, Francesca offered to take him there. Neither of them knew, but in that moment, fate quietly shifted its course. As soon as they got in the truck, Francesca grew visibly nervous. She'd never been alone with a strange man before. Robert chatted about the cities, rivers, and mountains he had seen during his travels. When he mentioned having visited a small Italian town called Paris, Francesca was taken aback. That was her birthplace. Aside from her family, this was the first time she had met someone who had been there. Her eyes lit up, filled with envy and wonder as she looked at Robert. Then they began talking about marriage. Robert was from Washington. He had been married once, but because his work required him to travel frequently to different countries for photography, he and his wife spent little time together, which eventually led to their divorce. When Robert asked how long Francesca had been married, she hesitated. She could only say she'd lived in that small town for nearly 20 years, and that her biggest life change was moving to the U.S. to follow her husband. That was all. As Robert reached for a cigarette, he accidentally brushed her leg. Francesca flinched slightly, then politely pulled back. But that fleeting touch made something shift, something subtle and unspoken. When they arrived at the bridge, Robert started taking photos while Francesca wandered the wooden planks. She peeked through the beams, watching him quietly. But the moment Robert turned around, he caught her gaze.
Always this hot around here?
Oh, yes, this time of year, yeah.
Francesca felt a flicker of panic she couldn't explain. To thank her for the help, Robert picked a small bunch of wildflowers and offered them to her. It was a rare moment of romance Francesca hadn't felt in years. She couldn't help but tease him.
Except those are poisonous.
Robert looked startled, but Francesca burst into laughter. Looking at this slightly awkward man, even Francesca herself might not have realized. A new and indescribable feeling was quietly blooming inside her. On the drive home, they no longer held back. They hummed along with the upbeat blues on the radio. The afternoon was hot, but the ride felt light and carefree. But before they could talk more, the truck pulled up in front of Francesca's home. They should have parted ways then, but something lingered. So, Francesca couldn't help but invite him inside for a cup of tea. As she made the iced tea, Robert happily discovered the radio station was playing the kind of music he loved. In their conversation, they realized they shared many interests, but their lives couldn't be more different. Robert had no wife or children, wandering from place to place. Francesca, like many women, had a husband, children, and endless chores. But this life wasn't what she'd hoped for. Her youthful dreams had long been buried under the repetition of her days. As Francesca spoke, her expression dimmed. Robert didn't know how to comfort her. Still, he was suddenly curious. What kind of man was her husband? Francesca's first word was clean.
He's a very hard worker, very caring, honest. He's gentle.
Though she painted a picture of a content married life, the sadness in her eyes was impossible to hide. Watching her quietly, Robert thought of something he'd written during his travels. Old dreams are beautiful. Even if they never come true, I'm grateful I once had them. Robert's comment made Francesca burst into laughter. She invited him to stay for dinner, saying there weren't any decent restaurants nearby. But only she knew. The truth was, Robert's arrival had quietly breathed life into her dull, routine existence. She found herself gazing out the window at the man washing his face in the yard. She suddenly realized how out of character she was acting, turned around with a small smile, and had no idea what had come over her. Almost unconsciously, she stepped to the mirror and put on a pair of earrings. While Francesca cooked, Robert stayed to help, unlike her husband, who only ever buried himself in farm work. And when Robert moved in and out of the house, he always closed the door gently. She noticed and liked that. After dinner, Robert animatedly shared stories from his travels. Francesca laughed until she was breathless. It had been so long since she'd laughed like that, so long since she'd met someone who truly resonated with her. Later, they went for a walk. Robert began reciting a poem with great enthusiasm. Francesca instantly recognized it. They traded lines back and forth, completely in sync. Their admiration for one another deepened with every word. But that very harmony stirred unease in Francesca's heart. After their walk, they returned home. Francesca slowly began to calm down, realizing that bringing a stranger into her home might have already crossed a line. Sensing her unease, Robert gently reassured her.
We're not doing anything wrong, you know. Nothing you couldn't tell your children about.
Maybe it worked. They soon returned to the table and resumed their warm conversation. Francesca curiously asked Robert if he ever regretted not having a family, but to her surprise, Robert turned the question back on her.
No.
Francesca was offended. She felt he had crossed a line. Robert hadn't expected her to react so strongly. To avoid more awkwardness, he quickly gathered his things and said he'd be leaving the next day after finishing his photography. But before walking out, he left her with a parting line.
Don't kid yourself, Francesca. You're anything but a simple woman.
That one sentence shattered Francesca's final layer of restraint. As Robert walked away, a powerful surge of emotion welled up inside her. She slowly settled into the rocking chair by the door, eyes locked on the direction Robert had gone. The sweltering night stirred countless thoughts. She loosened her blouse and stood alone at the edge of the porch, savoring the breeze against her skin. Then she made a bold decision. She scribbled a line on a piece of paper, jumped in her truck, and drove to the covered bridge, pinning the note to the wooden wall. Maybe it was fate, signaling that their connection wasn't meant to fade so easily. The next day, while Robert was photographing the bridge, he discovered the note. When the white moth spreads her wings, if you're hungry for dinner, you're welcome after work. He smiled. He knew exactly what it meant. Francesca was inviting him, in her own quiet way.
After 9, how about that?
Yes. Yes, get your work done. That's what's important. I'll make something nice. We can warm up when you get here.
After receiving Robert's clear response, Francesca felt a mix of nervousness and excitement in her heart. She hurried into town, carefully selecting a bottle of red wine, and picked up the dress she'd admired for so long. Meanwhile, Robert ran into a woman in the diner, Redfield, infamous for her affair with a man from a neighboring town. She drew disdainful looks from everyone around her, even the waitress. Watching this, Robert couldn't help but think of Francesca. After all, she was a married woman too. If people discovered their secret meetings, gossip would surely follow. So after a long moment of contemplation, Robert picked up the phone and called Francesca again.
If it's going to be a problem for you to see me tonight, don't feel pressured to do so. I'm sometimes not too bright about other people's reactions.
Francesca, though disappointed, refused to let this moment slip away.
Robert, okay, so I'll meet you at the bridge like we planned, and don't worry about the rest of it.
A surge of courage rose in Francesca's heart, a courage laced with trembling anticipation, which led them to meet at the covered bridge, just as planned. Robert took her photo. In the frame, Francesca's smile was radiant, full of life, like a young girl again. That evening, she put on the new dress and stood before Robert. At that very moment, the radio started playing soft music. The heavy summer air ignited something between them. They danced in each other's arms. And what should happen between lovers unfolded in its fullest that night. The next morning, they drove hundreds of kilometers out of town. There, no one knew them, no rules, just two people sharing something fleeting, but beautiful. They held each other close, laughed and talked, and later found a local bar full of strangers. Here they were free to live every heartbeat to the fullest. But by the fourth morning, everything changed. Francesca's heart filled with doubt and fear. The thought of saying goodbye clung to her like a net, tight and suffocating. She began to act out, trying to hide the storm inside her.
Eat, you don't need food.
What are you doing?
Gee, I don't know, maybe I'm not cut out to be a world citizen who experiences everything and nothing at the same time.
How do you know what I experienced?
With a bitter tone, she accused Robert of being able to walk away with ease, while she'd be trapped in this life forever.
We're all have good friends and who secretly include me in that group.
What do you want me to say?
Robert begged her not to say that, but Francesca couldn't stop. Her words grew sharper, more painful. Robert stayed silent, absorbing every blow. But it only made Francesca more anguished.
So just tell me either way, because I can't act like this is enough because it has to be. And I can't pretend not to feel what I feel, because it's over tomorrow.
It's just when I think of why I make pictures, the only reason I can come up with, it just seems that I've been making my way here.
But Robert wasn't the kind of man Francesca imagined. He wasn't someone who drifted from one romance to another. He loved her fire, her soul, her beauty, her truth. When Robert finally asked her to leave with him, Francesca felt her heart stir. She changed clothes and quickly packed her bags. But during their final meal before leaving, her thoughts began to drift. She thought of her children. She thought of the man who, while not romantic, had always quietly cared for her, of the steady home they had built. She feared that leaving would destroy it all, that her family would be mocked, made into a scandal. Robert said nothing. He just listened. He knew. Perhaps there was nothing left he could take with him. After a long silence, he told her he would stay in town a few more days, giving her time to decide.
I've never said it before, but this kind of certainty comes but just once in a lifetime.
When midnight came, Robert turned and walked away, vanishing into the dark. The door shut softly behind him, hiding Francesca's quiet sobs. The next day, her husband and children returned. Francesca once again became the ordinary housewife. The small routines of life returned. But inside, she felt hollow, like something had been carved out, never to be replaced. Then, one rainy morning, Francesca went into town with her husband to do some shopping. They split up to get what they needed. After buying some household items at a nearby store, Francesca returned to the truck to wait. And in that quiet moment, through the pouring rain, a familiar figure slowly emerged. Yes, it was him, the man Francesca could never let go of. The intense emotions between them were all carried in silence. It turns out Robert had been waiting all along for Francesca to make her final decision. As the two trucks slowly pulled up to a red light, one behind the other, Robert raised the necklace that symbolized their promise, holding it high through the window. In that fleeting moment, all the emotion they'd buried surged to the surface. Francesca's hand hovered over the door handle, trembling. Her heart was at war, impulse versus reason. Then the light turned green. Yet Robert didn't drive away. Maybe it was a silent plea, or his final wait. Rain blurred the windows and filled Francesca's eyes with tears. But as her husband leaned on the horn, Robert eventually started the engine, and Francesca never opened the door. The two trucks drove off in opposite directions. Their brief, beautiful connection reached its bittersweet conclusion. Francesca fought to contain her grief, but her husband sensed something was wrong. He didn't ask questions. He simply turned up the radio, trying to drown out the silent sobs beside him. In the years that followed, Francesca's life returned to its quiet routine. The children gradually grew up and left home, and Francesca grew old alongside her husband. But sometimes she couldn't help but wonder if she had left with Robert. Could their love have stood the test of time? What would her life have become?
I know you have your own dreams. I'm sorry I couldn't give them to you. I love you so very much.
After her husband passed away, Francesca tried to find Robert. But no matter how hard she looked, he was nowhere to be found. Until one day, 3 years later, she unexpectedly received a package. It was from Robert. Inside were a camera, a necklace with a blessing, a photo album, and a handwritten letter. She learned that Robert had already passed, but he had never forgotten their time together. In fact, he had requested to be buried beneath the covered bridge where they met. As Francesca read the letter, tears streamed down her face. But the story didn't end there. In 1978, when Francesca passed away, she left a will requesting cremation, and that her ashes be scattered beneath that very same bridge. This wish shocked her children. To them, it made more sense for their mother to rest beside their father. Just as confusion took over, the lawyer handed them a document containing a letter from Francesca and an extra key. Following her instructions, they opened a box of her keepsakes. Inside, they found a notebook filled with the details of Francesca's life, including the story of those 4 unforgettable days. She wrote that she had given everything to her family while she was alive, and now, in death, she simply wished to give something back to the one she loved most. At that moment, Michael and Carolyn finally understood the deeper meaning behind their mother's wish to be cremated. They were deeply moved by their mother's hidden love story, touched by its depth and sincerity. That night, the siblings talked for hours. Michael confessed that over the years, he had secretly felt drawn to other women during his marriage. Carolyn opened up as well. She'd endured nearly 2 decades of a stagnant, unfulfilling marriage, filled with quiet struggle and resignation. But their mother's story served as a reminder. Love isn't just about passion and romance. It's also about restraint, responsibility, and the choices we make. She also showed them that life is never a straight path. Everyone at some point will feel a moment of doubt in their heart. What truly matters is how we face it and the choices we make. Her words became a guiding light, illuminating the hearts of her children. Michael's restless desires gradually faded, and he made a decision to cherish his wife more deeply and to nurture their marriage with renewed care. A path ahead. Carolyn, on the other hand, found her strength. She put on the dress her mother had once worn, the one that carried so much courage and meaning, and finally asked her husband for a divorce, ready to pursue a life that truly belonged to her. In the final scene, the siblings honored their mother's last wish, scattering her ashes beneath the bridge that once bore witness to her and Robert's love. At that moment, it felt as if their mother and Robert were finally reunited, 2 souls beneath the bridge, guarding a love that had never died. And so the film ends. Perhaps for many in midlife, happiness lies in a loyal spouse, obedient children, and a stable home. In the world of ordinary people, grand passion is rare. Robert's only mistake was arriving too late. By the time he entered Francesca's life, she was already a wife and mother, bound by duty. Though love stirred in her heart, and though she knew without doubt this was the truest love she'd ever known, she chose to let it go. Had she left with Robert, their beginning might have been filled with thrill and romance. But over time, she, so used to a quiet life, might have struggled with Robert's wandering ways. She may have missed her children, regretted her impulse, and even resented Robert and his arrival. Robert was like a distant poem, a dream from far away. Beautiful, alluring, unforgettable. But life isn't perfect, and once we choose a path, we must bear its weight. When boredom sets in, we may crave escape. But the life we've built, the responsibilities we've taken on can crumble in an instant. Running away might bring short-term relief, but returning to what we once had? That's often impossible. In the Bridges of Madison County, Francesca and Robert's choice to part ways was one of maturity and depth, and their ashes, reunited beneath the covered bridge after death, became a symbol of eternal romance and longing. Francesca's letter to her children reflected unwavering loyalty to the family she'd built. That's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.